This video is just an observation of current events and worst-case scenarios, of which I, in my own mind, have come up with based on actual facts and my own hypothesis of those worst-case scenarios. Keep in mind, this is what I, myself, think will happen given certain circumstances not to be taken seriously. Or are they? I'm making this video to clarify my truth behind an upcoming event that seems to be the biggest joke on everyone's mind right now. But everyone seems to be ranting about it. The Zombocalypse. Now exactly what is the Zombocalypse? Well, it's the end of the world, just like the apocalypse. Just in this version, the undead or the infected run around like half-dead moaning people, while these so-called zombies are covered in scabs and pale like a dead person, moving at half speed in large mobs while trying to eat your brains. Or at least, that's the version I got from Hollywood. And it's generally the picture that most people get when you hear the word Zombocalypse. Now I got to thinking, what is the real Zombocalypse? There is no way that a bunch of half-dead dudes are gonna climb out of their graves and start doing the Thriller dance. There's just no way. So where did the stir of all this zombie talk come from? And why do I actually know people, including myself, that are preparing for this event, even though it doesn't sound logical at all? Because to me, the Zombocalypse is very real. I'm a zombie, and so are you. It's going to be more like zombie wars than the Zombocalypse. This event may happen or it may not. It all depends on if the world decides to get its act together or not. Let me explain. Right now, we live in very unstable times. With war in the Middle East, China's overpopulation of men causing all-out violence through Asia, North Korea and Iran making nukes, the violence in Syria, and the failing economy for the world's superpower causing the failing economy for the rest of the world. Tensions are running high, and the future is very unstable. It's not that hard to imagine that the doomsday clock might strike 12 as we start bombing the hell out of each other, throwing ourselves into nuclear winter. And something tells me that if that happens, most of us, especially here in America, aren't going to go to our regular Monday through Friday work or go for a casual drink on Saturday. Well, once it's all blown to hell. And it's not just nuclear holocaust that can do us in. It's just the most likely scenario that could happen this way, especially the way things are going. There's also asteroids, tsunamis, supervolcanoes, solar flares, polar shifts, twilight fans, and earthquakes. All this stuff can do us in at any time, but the most likely they'll happen, given our current state, the greed and terrorism. So we'll just go with war with China. Okay, so here's the scenario. Right now, we owe China approximately $1.6 trillion. That's a lot of cheese. As of right now, China's army wouldn't stand a chance. Its military is about as good technologically as ours was in the 1960s or 70s. They have a lot of people, but the technology just isn't there. To take a run at the army as big as theirs, well, they're going to need a lot of computers. But in the last 6 years, they found a way to actually finance these computers. It's our debt. What do you need to build computers? Circuit boards. What do you need to build circuit boards? Gold. That's right. Those little lines you see in circuit boards and electronics are gold. It's the best conductor for heat and electricity in the world, so small amounts can carry immense currents, like they do, in computers. You see it everywhere. Cash for gold. All the commercials. Cash for gold. And just what are you trading your gold for? Paper. That's right. You are taking tangible currency and trading it for monopoly money. Meanwhile, we send all our precious metals, gold, silver, copper, to China, while they send us back plastic. Doesn't make sense, does it? Well, this is actually really happening. So anyway, let's say China has built their army and got all the technology they need to come over here and collect their $1.6 trillion that we owe them. But we can't give them what we don't have because we're almost $16 trillion in debt altogether. So they're pissed that we can't pay them back, so they invade. A war breaks out between two superpowers. One nukes, everybody nukes. There is that nuclear winter I was telling you about, and nobody is working because everything is blown up and burnt to the ground. And now that we have a nuclear holocaust, with everything blown up and burned to the ground, there is no jobs. This 21st century invention called a career ceases to exist and only survival remains. And that's when you realize that all the work you've done in life, all your degrees, your career achievements have been to make money. And that's when you realize you can't eat paper. This is when you wake up and also realize that you have been in captivity and just got set into the wild. Because if there is no one alive or working, this means no harvest, no truck drivers, no groceries, no fast food, nothing, just you, and the paper you stacked in the bank, and everyone else who survived the same situation. And if you are in an inner city, you better buckle up, because there is a lot of people and almost no food, and this is how the Zombocalypse begins. At first, in a disaster, people are in kind of a state of shock, but over time, with enough hunger, we go into survival mode. And if you're in an inner city like LA with almost 4 million people and no food in a 500 square mile area, something tells me that your friendly neighbor Bob next door isn't going to be so friendly when he has 6 kids that are starving. And they're looking at you like a T-bone steak. I'd imagine that between hunger and nuclear winter, most people might resemble that pale, skinny, scabbed, cannibalistic zombie that you see on TV. And just like Albert Einstein said when asked what he thought of World War III and how it would look, he paused and thought, I can't tell you what World War III is going to look like. I can tell you what World War IV is going to look like. Sticks and stones. Me personally, I think it's going to be sticks and stones and zombies. And there you have it. The Real Zombocalypse, survival of the fittest, and nuclear winter. But if this does happen, just remember, Bob next door does have 6 scrumptious kids that are just as edible as you. Because in the Real Zombocalypse, you're a zombie too.